What's up, guys? Big J Biz back at you with another one. So, former Bridgeport assistant fire chief has been found dead. Harold Clark Sr., a 35-year member of the Bridgeport, Connecticut Fire Department, was reportedly convicted of sexual assault late last year. Harold Clark Sr., a 35-year member of the Bridgeport Fire Department, was found dead Friday, the day he was reportedly scheduled to be sentenced following a sexual assault conviction from late last year. When Clark did not appear in court for his scheduled sentencing, a judicial marshal contacted Bridgeport police officers, then tracked the last known location of Clark's GPS monitor where they found his body. The Connecticut Post reported that Clark, a senior assistant fire chief, was convicted in November of sexually assaulting a woman in his home in 2022. He was facing a possible 20-year prison sentence at the time of his death. Bridgeport police are investigating the untimely death. The location of where Clark was discovered was not disclosed, but I'm going to tell you about the crime now. Okay, so here's the crime. It says jury finds former Bridgeport fire official guilty of sexually assaulting a Desert Storm vet. Former City Assistant Fire Chief Harold Clark Sr. was convicted Friday of sexually assaulting a woman in his home in 2022. The Superior Court jury of 4 men and 2 women deliberated over a day and a half before finding 60-year-old Clark not guilty of first-degree sexual assault, but guilty of 2 counts of second-degree sexual assault. While the jury found Clark didn't forcibly rape the woman, it did find with its verdict that he sexually assaulted a physically disabled woman. Clark showed no emotion when the verdict was announced. The victim's mother burst into tears in the back of the courtroom. "Thank you, Lord," she said. Clark faces up to 20 years in prison when he's sentenced by Judge Robin Pavia on January 17th. The judge ordered him held in lieu of a $1.5 million bond pending sentencing. The jury worked consciously to arrive at the appropriate verdict, Senior Assistant State's Attorney Edward Lee Miller later said. Clark, who retired from the fire department after 34 years, 1 week after he was accused of the crime, was charged with raping the woman, a military veteran who was wounded in Operation Desert Storm on February 16, 2022 at his home after she said she followed him home from a city bar because she was afraid he was too intoxicated to drive. A first trial late July ended with a jury announcing it was hopelessly deadlocked on the charge of first-degree sexual assault. The jury did find Clark not guilty of aggravated sexual assault, finding the state had not proved that Clark was aided by 2 or more other persons in the crime. The complainant testified that when they got to his home, Clark invited her inside and gave her a glass of water. She testified she called her partner to let her know she was heading home soon, but soon after drinking this water, the woman said she became disoriented and unable to stand. Did he diddy her? At that point, she said other unidentified men came to Clark's home and the 3 of them repeatedly beat her and dragged her to a bedroom where they raped her. Oh boy. Miller showed the jury photographs showing numerous bruises on the woman's face, body, and limbs. Photos showed the jury revealed that Clark also had bruises on him consistent with the victim's claims that she had attempted to fight him off of her. The woman's partner testified she went to Clark's home looking for the woman and found her lying partially dressed on his front lawn. What the heck? She said she took the woman to the hospital. A state DNA expert testified to identifying Clark's DNA from the victim. But in his final argument to the jury on Wednesday, Clark's lawyer, Christopher Sarami, contended the prosecutor had only proved that Clark and the complainant had consensual sex. He argued there was no proof that his client used force. Clark testified during the trial that his career on the city's fire department had been marred by his longtime abuse of alcohol and cocaine. Oh, great. He said 20 years ago he had been suspended by the department for cocaine use, but returned to work after few sessions of drug abuse therapy, which he acknowledged did him no good, but he denied raping the woman. Clark testified February 16, 2022, he had left the bar after having drinks with the complainant and driven home alone. About 5 to 10 minutes later, he said there was a knock on his door and it was the complainant. They each had 2 beers in the basement family room of the home and ingested some cocaine until Clark's dog knocked the drug off the table with his tail. Clark testified they then went upstairs to the kitchen where they drank several glasses of vodka and got touchy-feely. Clark said they went into his bedroom where the complainant began to get undressed and he went into the bathroom to take Viagra. They then had consensual sex, he told the jury. When they awoke the next morning, Clark said the complainant began yelling at him for not sending her home earlier. She was banging on my chest, and I grabbed her arms, and I calmed her down after a few minutes, he said. The complainant's phone then rang. He said it was her partner. I remember her, the complainant, saying, "They attacked me. I was trying to register who they could be." He testified. He said he grabbed his own cell phone and left the room to call the complainant's uncle. When he returned to the bedroom, he said the complainant had her pants and t-shirt on. He said he offered to give her a ride home, but she abruptly left the house. He said the complainant and her partner returned a short time later and picked up the complainant's shoes and coat before leaving again. Clark said he then decided to take his dog for a walk at Seaside Park. I was just trying to rehash everything in my head and try to calm down, he said. Wow, so this guy's been a cokehead and alcoholic pretty much most of his time on the force, and they left him as a firefighter. Then he gets convicted of this heinous crime and don't want to do the time, so they find him that he took himself out, it sounds like. Well, like, comment, subscribe, Big J Biz. If you like this story and you want to see more like it, most of my stuff is like Connecticut local stories, as I'm from the Bridgeport, Connecticut area. Trying to get to 1K subscribers so I can start getting paid and use that money to help homeless and stuff like that. Thank you. Have a good one. God bless everyone. Peace out.